for First Division survival. And Second Division promotion candidates, we'll look closely at the qualifications of Huddersfield and the hopes of Brentford. Well, Gary Lineker was given the freedom of the city of Leicester this week, so we've given him the freedom of this Saturday afternoon. So instead of Gary, it's welcome to David Pleat, the Luton boss, who will give his comments on a number of topics. For the Second Division, let's have a look at that. Birmingham in cup action tomorrow, so Brentford with a chance to go back to the top if they win at home against Cardiff. These are good days at Griffin Park. Birmingham City, well, they're proving that they're a team with the right credentials to get back into the big time. Certainly if support is anything to go by. They play Carlisle at Wembley tomorrow in the Autoglass Trophy final, having sold over 40,000 tickets for the game. The demand at St Andrews has been quite astonishing, and with Carlisle support as well, tomorrow's match at Wembley is a 75,000 sellout, making it better supported even than the Coca-Cola Cup final. Meantime, that Second Division promotion battle goes on, and Gerald Sinstadt reports on two more famous managers right in the promotion frame. David Webb, who's done wonders at Brentford, and Neil Warnock in charge of third-placed Huddersfield.
Brentford's golden days, when they matched skills with the Arsenals and Evertons, were in the 30s and 40s in the old First Division. They played in a wartime cup final, but the glory slipped from their grasp. Huddersfield Town have been FA Cup finalists 5 times, winners in 1922. That was under the management of Herbert Chapman, who then led them to 3 successive league championships. But sometimes it's difficult for a club with an illustrious past to focus clearly on the future.
There were in the past, I think, a lot of big clubs, you know, they said they shouldn't be down there, but Huddersfield is a big club, and a lot of big clubs like this who have been sleeping for a few years. I just asked them, the lads that I brought in, to have good habits, and I think we've given the pride back to the supporters. I think the supporters have backed us tremendously, and I think now they know that with the stadium and everything, it's an exciting time, and you know, we've got to go forward.
When the final whistle blew on a 2-1 victory over Blackpool 12 months ago, Huddersfield were about to take a leap into the future. When they closed the doors at the old Leeds Road ground for the last time, there was more than one nostalgic look over the shoulder. But just a few hundred yards away, a bright new era was waiting. This season, Huddersfield's pristine Alfred McAlpine Stadium has been the envy of many a club in more than one division. Sadly, Huddersfield's opportunity can only be Brentford's envy. Homely Griffin Park's location in the middle of a residential area precludes major developments. Nevertheless, many might feel that a ground with a pub on all 4 corners has much to recommend it. What Brentford and Huddersfield do have in common is adjusting to life in a football world of extremes, the mega-rich and the merely hopeful.
It's like taking a little corner shop and turning it into Fison's or something, you know, that's the whole thing. You're actually trying to build a conglomerate, and you've got to start somewhere. And what we're trying to do is deal with what we can deal with it. You know, in the last few years, you've had the chappie at Derby, the chappie at Blackburn, and now the fellow at Birmingham. They've got a checkbook, they've opened it up and they've thrown it at it, you know, and that can happen, but there's no shortcut.
You've just got to make sure that you do your homework and get as many bargains as you can, and pay realistic prices. It's people who pay inflated prices for average players who spoil it for everyone, but that's the fear in the game, really.
What Neil Warnock and David Webb are trying to do is square the circle, to find and develop young players good enough to provide success on the pitch, while understanding that the inevitable outcome will be the loss of those players to an irresistible offer.
Providing I always make sure there's a backup to what there is. Hopefully a lot of these young players at this club will go, and not in a not too distant future, be playing in the Premier League, and playing very well in the Premier League. That's what my hope is for, and that will give me as much as a kick as whatever it is success individually I get with Brentford Football Club.
Take Nick Foster, 24 goals this season. They've not only helped Brentford's challenge, they've also drawn the scouts.
That's our superstar, Nick Foster.
Yet this is one who could easily have slipped through the net. Gillingham gave him his first chance after he'd finished his A-levels.
I have been surprised because I didn't get the coaching between 16 and 18. Came straight from school into football, so yeah, slightly surprised. I mean, I've got a lot of credits this year. Like I've been called up into the under 21s on standby, England under 21. So yeah, you know, very surprised, but also, you know, very, very pleased.
Forster's first taste of representative football came this season on a trip to Italy with an Ensley League side. Also in that team was a young man named Andy Booth, who's been a major factor in Huddersfield's rise. 27 goals so far this season. Andy is the local boy who made good without so much as a wistful glance towards Leeds or Manchester.
Well, he was in the youth team when I took over. He couldn't run, he couldn't walk, he could hardly breathe. He'd got an asthmatic problem. And Andrew, I threw him in at the deep end against Arsenal. And we actually remedied his medical problems by getting him some new treatment for his asthmatic problem. And he did ever so well against Arsenal, and he just got stronger and stronger. And I think all the big clubs are quite rightly looking at him, and he will end up playing in the top of the Premier League.
If Brentford and Huddersfield should accompany each other into the First Division, they'll take with them a strong involvement in their respective local communities. Brentford have been 3 times winners of a Divisional Football Trust Community Award. This week, they've had 600 youngsters at Easter coaching schools, emphasis on fun as well as fundamentals. Meanwhile, in Huddersfield, they opened their gates to autograph hunters and souvenir snappers, not knowing if 20 or 200 would turn up. The result left no doubt about the reciprocal feelings that bind club and community. By the end, there was a new complaint for the physio's treatment room: writer's cramp. Success, of course, breeds success, but Neil Warnock has a frequent reminder not to take it for granted.
I've just gone about it doing what I'm good at, you know, and organising and getting lads to actually... Sorry, Gerald. Right, you're not going to want that on.
No, we'll let that... We'll
yeah. Ask again that, yeah. Last year, the difference this year is last year they would have blown their own going, what a load of rubbish, yeah. Every time they come past training. Now they're all Bradford fans on the trains. This year they don't do it.
Huddersfield and Brentford achieved a lot, that's for sure. But the test, I suppose, of a manager at that level is whether they can hang on to players like Forster and Booth.
Well, I think David Webb knows. In the end, you don't, because you have to promote them through and project them through and hopefully sell them on for the right money, which keeps your club running successfully for the next 2 or 3 years, because survival is so important. But then you have to make sure, hopefully make sure you're bringing one through the youth to replace the one that you're having to sell. It's a scenario that every club lower down has to believe in and do.
So sell not only for the right money, but at the right time from your interests as well.
I think so, yes. I mean, that's very important. It depends on the ambition of the club, of course, and how long they can afford to support, if you like, the larger contracts that these younger, brighter